Hi there guys, Tom Quayle here for Sound Effects Premiere in Ormskirk. Coming back with another video here for the Boss ES-8, an amazing pedal switching unit with just a ton of features. Now in this video we're going to be having a look at some of the MIDI functionality and also the assigning functionality of the foot switches to do multiple functions on the unit itself. So we've got a camera set up down here so you can see the ES-8, and also you can see I've got this Untitled H9 here which is hooked up to the ES-8 via a MIDI cable. Okay, so really simple connection. Just get this cable out of the way. Okay, so basically one of the things that I'm going to be showing you is basic things like preset changes on the H9 or any MIDI capable unit. If you've got Strymon pedals, which are really popular at the moment, obviously anything with MIDI capability that can switch patches, the ES-8 will enable you to assign patches and switch between them. So here's the sound I've got at the moment. A basic hall reverb on the H9. Now, let's say I wanted to select a delay when I selected this preset on the H9. Now I know that my delay, if I scroll through my patches, is on patch number 4, but we were on patch number 1. Now if I hit edit on the ES-8 and go through my patch menu, these are all the options for our individual patches, and all these options are saved per patch. I'm on this option here, patch MIDI 1. I hit enter. Now we've got channel, and then LSB and MSB we don't need to worry about for this particular session. If I set to channel 1, which is what the H9 is on, and then scroll across to PC, which stands for program change, and select 4, that's our delay, and then hit right twice, that basically means you can see now that the H9 is updated. So when I now select, go to preset 2, and then hit preset 1, let's say I change back to patch number 9, glitter. If I hit preset 1 on the ES-8, watch the H9 update. There we go, so it's automatically selected the right preset. Really, really useful. Now, another thing I might want to be able to do is to change the tempo of my delays on the ES-8. Now I have a particular patch set up here, this one here, this clean delay patch. And again, you can see, I don't know if you saw there, when I selected it, the tempo updated on the H9. Now what I've got here is, you see on the ES-8 here, we've got a tempo clock. Now the ES-8 sends what's called MIDI clock data. There's two ways you can do this. You can either set one of the buttons up as a tap tempo function and assign that to a MIDI controller that you send to your H9, which is really easy to do in the ES-8. You just need to know which controller to assign it to on the H9. You do that via the software that comes with the H9. Or you can assign MIDI clock data. Now the MIDI clock here is set to 106. Now if I actually change that MIDI clock to another value, let's say 125, see it's updated on the H9 now, because the H9 is accepting MIDI clock data and the ES-8 is sending it. Now I've also assigned, now you can't quite see this, but I've got this button over here, which is a tap tempo function. You can hear me tapping it, and you can see it's changing the tempo on the H9 as I'm tapping in time. Hopefully you can hear that, me tapping there. So that kind of functionality is really, really useful. Just being able to do that is incredibly useful. Now, literally any MIDI function on your pedal that you can think of can be assigned to either one of the buttons on the H9, on the ES-8, or can be assigned to one of the expression pedals or control pedals. All of these inputs along here and outputs are for expression and control pedals, and you can assign those to any MIDI function you like. I actually have a control pedal above, but it's not hooked up to do anything just yet. But just bear that in mind. You think of any parameter on your, say you've got a Strymon timeline, a Mobius, or you've got one of the TC electronic pedals that's got MIDI available, all of which are sold by Sound Effects. You can check all of these out. Or if you've got an Eventide H9 or any of like the mod factor or the time factor, all these pedals take MIDI. You can assign any of the functions of the pedal to one of the buttons on the ES-8 or one of the expression pedals for the ES-8, so that's really useful. And the MIDI editing is very, very flexible. If I go into the edit menu, okay, we've got this function, whoops, if I go edit, we've got this function called control and expression. Now we can assign 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 different parameters, okay? And then within that as well, we have expression 1, expression 2, and then 4 control inputs. And then also, now here's the really cool bit, we can assign any of our pedals on here, 1 through 8, and then bank up, bank down, mute, and memory manual to do different jobs. Now, one of the jobs I've assigned is if I go to patch number 1, for instance, let me just exit out of here, okay? If I go to patch number 1, you can see it's changed the patch on my H9. Now, if I hit the mute button, watch what happens on the H9. We get a tuner function, and I've done that via MIDI. I've set that up via MIDI to go to the tuner. Now, when I play, you're hearing my delay there as well. Let me just switch that delay on. There we go. Okay, so go back to the tuner, and it's muting the signal as well. So I'm a little bit out of tune. At least I'm consistently out of tune across the guitar. So that enables you to assign multiple functions to various, when I hit it again, by the way, it goes back to the standard preset. It allows you to assign any function you like to any of the pedals. Now, the other cool thing, and this is the last thing I want to show you in terms of MIDI, because MIDI is very, very flexible. You can set all kinds of things up. Just bear in mind that with the ES-8, there's just a ton of options. Is that you can also assign certain foot switches to switch on other loops as you're playing. Now, I'm in preset 1 here. What I'm going to do, I'm going to go into the edit menu, go to this control and expression section, and I'm going to assign pedal 2. Number 2 refers to pedal 2 or button 2 here. Press enter, okay, the function here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to set the function to, there's BPM, we don't want that, to off, okay. Now, what I'm going to do here, that means that when I press pedal 2, it's not going to select preset 2. I then exit and I go to assign a function. So I'm going to assign, let's go to one that had not been used before. Okay, so I'm going to assign function 4. I'm going to turn that on and I'm going to select number 2 as my source. I'm toggling something. I'll show you what I'm toggling. I'm toggling one of the loops and I want to toggle loop number 4. So I select number 4, okay? And then I save, I write twice. Now watch what happens when I press loop number 2 now, or button number 2. That has enabled me within this preset to assign another pedal to button 2. Okay, so I can turn on my nebulous. I'm using an Empress nebulous for my rotary simulation. I can assign turning that on and off within the preset to button number 2. I could assign it to any of the buttons. I could have assigned it to the mute button, the bank down button, so on and so forth. So that flexibility is amazing. Just having that flexibility to allow you to switch anything on and off in a preset that's in one of the loops from one of these buttons. You could also assign that button to do an amp, let's say a channel switch on one of your amplifiers, switch your effects loop on and off on your amplifier, switch your reverb on and off on your amplifier, all sorts of things. It's just incredibly, incredibly flexible. Okay, so that's the MIDI functionality and the control functionality of the ES-8. Hope you've enjoyed this quick demo, guys, and I will see you next time.